Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Chimera's Core Studio. Welcome to the show, and welcome to an episode that I did not expect to be doing, and I don't know why I missed this. Maybe it's because, well, there have been a million products coming out lately, and even though I did some episodes recently where I talked about just the slew of products that have come out this year and the ones that are still yet to come out, I forgot that Jumpstart 2022, I believe, is coming out on December 7th. So... my goodness, yes, there are spoilers still coming out. We just finished Brothers War spoiler season. There are still spoilers coming out. I honestly do not have the bandwidth, the energy, the focus to do a full spoiler season of quick takes. So you're gonna have to bear with me. My apologies, but yeah, I don't even know if that's what people would want right now, anyways, because again, there's just so many things coming out. So many things people are being bombarded with. Yeah, maybe the last thing we need is just, an in-depth, view of so many new cards. Yes, there are exciting designs, and I don't want to take anything away from the designers, of this game. You do a fantastic job, it's obviously many of this stuff is out of your control. But yeah, the company running things is just kind of diluting Magic a bit by just giving everything all the time, basically, just all the products all the time. Okay, long roundabout way of saying. Again, I'm not trying to take away from the designers. There's some really cool designs, and I'm sure there's some players out there that are really excited about these commanders, so I don't want to take anything away from that at all. I'm just going to give you the quickest of quick takes on these cards. Basically, there are 5 new commanders that we've seen so far from Jumpstart 2022. I really wasn't aware of these at all until like yesterday or so, when like Eddie was like, oh, by the way, have you seen this? I'm like, oh, you're kidding. Like, Jumpstart is already a thing now. At least that's the last time I remember. There's so many things going on that it's hard to keep track. Long intro, but yeah, here we go. So let's talk about Zask Skittering Swarmlord, and my apologies if I'm mispronouncing any of these names. Again, these are new cards to me. I literally have not looked at, exactly what these cards do, really. I just have not delved into it yet, so I'm sure I'm going to make some mistakes, but bear with me. A 5/5 insect for 3 green. You may play lands and cast insect spells from your graveyard. Whenever another insect you control dies, put it on the bottom of someone's library, then mill 2 cards. Also, by paying 1 and Golgari, target insect gets +1/+0 and gains death touch until end of turn. Yeah, I mean, definitely doesn't seem like all that, definitely not an overpowered commander, one that can provide you good value. Just being able to play lands from your graveyard is a very, very good thing. I mean, essentially, that's what Ramanop Excavator, if I'm getting the name right for that card. But, this one obviously costs a little more. It can also be your commander. Also allowing you to get insects out of your graveyard, too. That can be huge. I mean, the way that you're probably going to see this commander built around most of the time is going to be Insect Tribal, obviously, because, hey, if your insects die, you mill 2, or, you put on the bottom of your library, you mill 2, so you've got the potential to hit even more insects that, again, you can play from your graveyard. And also, you can give insects death touch, which, of course, can be very good. You can also pair that, with a Viridian Longbow or something like that to allow you to just ping down your opponent's creatures, too. And, of course, another direction you could take this commander, or something you could take into account as well, is going to be with, landfall as well. Being able to play lands from your graveyard can be a very powerful thing, especially when you have ways to play additional lands from your graveyard. Basically, I mean, like that's Sawtooth, Wayward Sawtooth, I think that's the one. But yeah, allowing you to play additional land each turn. There are plenty of effects like that in green, and being able to do that, it can essentially just help you just get landfall trigger after landfall trigger after landfall trigger, especially if you just get even a singular fetch land, even something as simple as like an Evolving Wilds out. Essentially, again, crack it, go get a basic land that's 2 landfall triggers. And then, you can use, it again from your graveyard, because you can play lands from your graveyard. So go get Evolving Wilds back, crack it again, get another land. So every single time now you're getting 2 landfall triggers instead of just 1. Obviously, with more expensive, fetch lands, those work as well, like a Misty Rainforest or whatever the one is for Golgari. It is escaping me right now. Again, this is the quickest of quick takes. I'm just talking about the cards and trying to remember best other cards too. So yeah, I mean, again, not an overpowered commander. One that, Insect Tribal players out there, if you've got a Grist deck, you're definitely going to be looking potentially to add this one to it. Or, switch out the commander, or, just build a completely new Insect Tribal deck. Or you could just go really heavy into Landfall again. So yeah, it's got some directions that you can definitely take it. Definitely, again, not an overpowered commander, but definitely not a bad commander either. Next up, we've got Lita Mechanical Engineer, a 3/3 legendary artifact creature, artificer that has vigilance that costs 2 and a white, and it has, at the beginning of your end step, untap each other artifact creature you control. By paying 3 and a white, you tap to create a 5/5 colorless vehicle artifact token named Zeppelin with flying and crew 3. So this is a very interesting commander, and this is actually the full time that I've read through this text. So yeah, definitely a commander that can utilize vehicles, of course, in a very cool way. Being able to actually make you vehicle tokens. I'm not sure actually if there are any other commanders out there that make vehicle tokens. Please correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong on that. And also, comment below with all your, your thoughts on all these commanders as well. Basically, yeah. Now, at the beginning of your end step, untap each other artifact creature control. Obviously, if you're utilizing your artifact creatures to, crew your vehicles, you can essentially get them back for some defense as well as essentially, again, untapping your vehicles that have swung too. So kind of like a pseudo vigilance there. You can also kind of lean heavily into activated abilities of certain artifact creatures. I mean, my mind immediately went to, just like Palladium Mirror, essentially, 3 mana, taps for 2 colorless. Cool. You can, tap that for mana, untap, so you've got that mana on your opponent's turns as well. So, of course, you can lean into, again, artifacts with, artifact creatures' activated abilities. You can lean into, again, vehicles. Again, it's definitely not an overpowered commander by any means. It's definitely not even all that powerful of a commander. It's got a decent effect on it. Obviously, it is hampered a little bit by being in mono white. It does give you some decent value. 4 mana to actually make a 5/5 vehicle is not all that bad. And again, if you can utilize, again, those mana dorks like a Palladium Mirror or whatnot, yeah, you can utilize that mana and essentially get it back for an ability like that. So yeah, Lita Mechanical Engineer. I'm not sure. I mean, when it comes to popularity, I don't think there's going to be a ton of players out there scrambling for this one. I could be very wrong on it. I know, yes, vehicles are a pretty popular, type of deck out there, pretty popular theme, but like Shorkai, Genesis Engine, and other commanders out there have that covered in different ways. Also give you access to more colors. This one probably has, a space in certain vehicle decks as well, but it's really not all that much to write home about, at least not for me. So again, my apologies to those of you that are huge fans of this new card. I think it's okay, and let's just leave it at that. Next up, we got yet another mono white commander with Preston, the Vanisher, a 2/5 rabbit wizard that costs 3 and a white. It says, whenever another non-token creature is battlefield under your control, if it wasn't cast, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 0/1 white illusion. By paying 1 and white, you sacrifice 5 illusions to exile target non-land permanent. So, okay, first up, I always find it funny when they have kind of like real life name. Not that other cards don't have real life names too, but like Preston, that one's kind of funny just, to see like on an actual card. It's like, I'm sure there are gonna be some Preston Magic players out there that are very excited to have a card that has their actual name on it as well to play with. That's kind of beside the point though. But again, basically, non-token creatures, making you token copies of them, but not when they're cast, is a very interesting thing. And essentially, you're getting a copy of that creature. There's got to be some ways you can go infinite with this. I mean, because obviously, my mind immediately goes to blinking creatures. Because yeah, you're going to basically blink them, you exile them, they come back into play, and then this ETB occurs because they are not cast. You essentially blinked it, it came back. Also, reanimation effects could work as well. There are some of those in mono white as well. But yeah, very, very interesting kind of approach to this. Yeah, there definitely has to be a way to just break this. My mind immediately goes to like Fiend Hunter, but I don't know. I mean, that probably, you need multiple of those essentially. But yeah, there's got to be ways to break this wide open. Getting extra copies of a creature, sure, it's just a 0/1 white illusion. That's not, what you're really going to care all that much about. Getting an extra copy of something, sure, it would be nice, if you had, your Sun Titan, you got an extra copy of it, it was a 6/6/2, but 6/6 as well, I should say. 6/6/2 sounds kind of weird. Anyways, yeah, basically, you can, utilize a bunch of really cool ETBs with this again and again and again. Again, yeah, if you do blink your Sun Titan, you are getting an extra copy of it. Again, it's just a 0/1 illusion, but you get that ETB trigger, again, being able to, bring something back from your graveyard that costs 3 or less, essentially. Yeah, and then also, getting that trigger when that attacks as well, even though it's just a 0/1 illusion. So, yeah, you can really use and abuse ETBs. You can really use and abuse, abilities of creatures, triggers of creatures with this kind of a thing. Yeah, I think there's some really exciting things that you can do with this one. This is, again, one that if I was, doing those full quick takes, I would be really kind of digging in and just trying my best to figure out the exact cards and combinations that you would need to really go ham with something like this. I mean, Restoration Angel definitely comes to mind with something like this. I assume you can do some pretty broken things with that Felder Guardian. those kinds of cards. Also, yeah, I mean, being able to sacrifice 5 illusions to get rid of a non-land permanent, just 2 mana. That's a a good that doesn't cost very much at all to utilize that. Now, obviously, the main downside is sacrificing 5 illusions. That can be a lot, but again, of course, there are plenty of ways to get a lot of these illusions. If you utilize a mass blink spell like an Eerie Interlude to blink all of your non-token creatures, they leave, they come back into play, you're getting illusion copies of them, you get whatever ETBs you're getting from them, essentially getting a lot of value out of them, and then also, again, making yourself an illusion army that you can sacrifice if you need to get rid of your opponent's pesky non-land permanents. So yeah, I think this commander has a good amount of potential, and I think, again, Prestons out there are going to be very excited to have a commander with their name. I highly doubt a Mitch will ever come out, but maybe it does, and yeah, maybe we'll have to build a deck around that one. But yeah, Prestons, rejoice. Fans of Rabbits, rejoice. Rabbit Wizards, and then yeah, fans of Blinking, and also, again, some reanimation effects as well could probably be utilized with that too. So yeah, definitely a lot of things considered with this one. Moving on, a mono green commander, Renati Behemoth Caller, a 1/3 cat shaman for 2 and a green. With a name like Behemoth Caller, I highly doubt this cat shaman is all about cat tribal, but let's see. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 5 or greater, the creature has battlefield additional with X additional plus counters on it, Rexes its mana value -4. Creatures you control with 3 or more +1 counters on them have haste, and it can tap for a green. So let's break this down. Obviously, first up, this is a mana dork. I mean, it's not a very efficient mana dork, being 3 mana, essentially, tapping for 1. I mean, in green, we've got, Llanowar Elves does that exact same thing for just 1. Now, obviously, this does other things on top of that. Whenever you cast a creature spell with mana value 5 or greater, so you're going to want to have, it's kind of like a Goreclaw, essentially, kind of deck. But Goreclaw is 4 or greater, but this one's 5. Anyways, even bigger creatures, you're going to want to really focus on that. The creature's going to come and play with X counters on it, where X its mana value -4. So the higher up on that scale you get, the more mana you're putting into something, the more counters you're getting on it. My first thought with this goes to actually Hydras. X mana Hydras, essentially, like a Genesis Hydra, etc., etc., etc. Getting double the amount of counters on them, essentially, after you get to that, 4 mana and that X value, essentially, or 3 mana, that X value, whatever the math is. Yeah, you can easily get that amount up. Obviously, on top of that, too, Hydras do benefit from the other part. Creatures you control 3 or more counters on them have haste. So, yeah, just inherently, again, with those X mana creatures, I mean, I do say Hydras, but I also mean, like, Ivy Elemental, which, ironically, when I was a kid, quick story aside, there was, like, a starter deck, I believe. That was one of my first kind of starter decks. And, like, I think, like, the rare in that one that was, like, my powerhouse card in it was, like, Ivy Elemental, which I think is just, like, an XX. For X and a green, and yeah, it was a rare at the time. I think it's an uncommon now, but yeah, any kind of X creature, I guess I should say, that comes up with X counters on it, this can definitely be a commander that can consider those. This one I don't think is going to take players away from other X mana creatures, or X mana commanders. A brand new one just came out, Magus Lucia Kane, I believe, is the one from Warhammer that players are really excited about. Also, the Sultai Hydra that is escaping my mind as well, that deals with Hydras and counters. This one definitely does some interesting things and can definitely slot into those +1 counters decks. They can slot into those big creature decks. So Renati definitely has a places. I just don't know if it has all that much of a place as a commander itself. It does some pretty nice things, but when it comes to being as impactful as others, it's probably not as impactful as others. It probably leads itself more to a support role in the 99 of another deck. So we shall see. Next up, and I believe it's the last one actually, Rudolf Duskbringer. Hopefully I'm saying that right, not Rudolph, but Rudolf. A 4/4 Vampire Angel with Flying, Death Touch, and Lifelink that costs 5 and a black, and it has, whenever you gain life, Rudolf Duskbringer gains indestructible until end of turn. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 in Orzhov. When you do, return target creature card with mana value extra less from your graveyard to the battlefield, breaks the amount of life you gain this turn. Now, it's actually a good amount going on here. A 4/4 for 6 mana, obviously not all that great, but Flying, Death Touch, Lifelink, those are some nice keywords to have on it. I mean, basically that's what, like, Vampire Nighthawk, essentially, for those keywords. And this one, again, whenever gaining life, it gets indestructible on turn. So this itself actually can kind of benefit you with that. It can kind of protect itself in a way I mean, First Strike is going to work great with this commander regardless because of that Death Touch. Because, yeah, you can essentially, hit another creature first, takes it out automatically. I mean, actually, you can take up to essentially 4 creatures if they're all blocking for whatever reason. But, yeah, you're also going to gain that life first then before that creature deals damage to yours. And, yeah, then you are, your creature is indestructible as well on top of all of that. Of course, on top of that, though, if you've got other life gain effects, that can really help you out, too. I mean, and obviously the more and more life that you gain, I mean, 4 is not a bad amount of life for that last part, but yeah, the more and more life you gain, the more easy it is to bring back some massive creatures potentially. Again, your end step, you can pay 1 Orzhov. When you do, you get a creature that is made by X or less back from your graveyard to the battlefield, directly to the battlefield, not even your hand, where that's the amount of life you gain this turn. So you have to keep your commander in play, but obviously with the indestructibility, that can be a great way to protect it, whether that's in combat or if your opponents are trying to take it out. So yeah, having some, instant speed life gain effects, or having, some, activations maybe on the battlefield that you can, utilize to gain some life. Those can definitely help out too. But yeah, the more and more life you gain, the bigger, something is that you can get out of your graveyard. Obviously, since you're an Orzhov, with access to black, you've got ways like, a final parting to tutor for the right card for your hand, but also the right card for your graveyard too. So, tutor for that way to gain a massive amount of life essentially, and then also, tutor for a massive creature that you want to stick in your graveyard and that you can just cheat out into play. Yeah, I mean, like, an Avacyn or something like that. Sure, it might cost whatever it is, 8, 10 mana, whatever the amount is. I don't have it in front of me right now. But yeah, being able to, get out that, essentially by easily gaining, 10 life in a turn with a multitude of ways that you can do that. That can be a very effective way to essentially, again, utilize this Reanimator Commander. It does, cost a decent amount of life, or decent amount, tripping on my words, decent amount of mana to actually get out and start utilizing it. But of course, there are some pretty exciting things that it can do. And yeah, again, utilizing life gain for not just, life gain's purpose, or not just life gain's purpose, but being able to utilize life gain in a different, unique way is interesting. Being able to bring creatures back, you're limited to just 1. Of course, there are ways to double that up, double up that trigger, like, a Seronic Resonator, I believe, would be able to do that. But yeah, stuff like that, essentially. So yeah, you can make the most out of this Reanimator life gain commander in a way. Definitely some interesting commanders. Again, I don't want to take anything away from the designers when it comes to, these commanders. It just kind of seems like at this point, too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Yeah, we are getting an absurd amount of cards. We are getting so many that it's impossible to keep track of. We have, I mean, I think I already said we had like 322 new commanders this year, and that wasn't including like backgrounds, which of course, those combinations with those commanders can get, pretty crazy with the amount of commanders that you potentially have in the year with all of that. So yeah, going from like, 80 or so commanders every year, which was back in like 2015, to like 322 now, plus whatever these commanders that we're getting in Jumpstart as well. We're not done with that just yet. I don't believe spoiler season's done. I have no idea how long spoiler season's running. And again, it's all a surprise to me. And again, I do this for a living where I'm paying attention to Magic and I even can't keep up. So it's just getting kind of ridiculous. And I think Wizards, if you're listening, which you probably aren't, please, please, please just slow things down. Next year, nowhere near as many products, nowhere near as many commanders. Just slow things down, take it easy, take your foot off the gas, because you're going to crash. That was a terrible, terrible, anecdote. I don't even know what that is. Not anecdote, whatever it is. I'm losing track at this point. Yeah, as always though, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.